shallow 3. Climate maintained 4,000. When approached, pad 6. Use caution.
Entirely made of metal, so you can expect it to be kind of a bit angular. CNC machine, the build quality is impressive. So let's talk about the ergonomic itself. Inside 10mm dynamic driver, it is fairly okay with the size itself, not exactly huge or not exactly small, but I do feel the weight, the heft of the IEM itself when worn. If you look at the back, there's a line there, the ridge there. It would impact some sort of comfort factor, where if you are not familiar with metal type of IEM, especially AG angular type of IEM, then rest assured that you're going to feel that angular segment. But it does not mean that it is uncomfortable or anything like that, because I was able to wear this Yacht 10 without any issue at all for the last 3 hours now. So I am not feeling any kind of abrasiveness or any kind of discomfort, which I would consider as worrying. And on top of it, it also comes with two types of ear tips, which is slow rebound ear tip, foam type, and also silicone ear tip. The most comfortable one, the one that seals the best, is the foam tip and the cable here. It is also premium built. It comes with detachable L angle, which you can detach and attach. It does take a bit of pressure to press the plug in. All in all, I would say the build quality is just very impressive. Rated at 95 dB of sensitivity at 24 ohm. That is kind of a bit odd for an IEM. Just to get a bit of perspective, that kind of configuration is almost identical to full-size headphone, something like HIBY Aria Unveiled. It is pretty much something which I would expect from a full-fledged, full-size headphone. So does it mean that this thing is difficult to drive? Let's just have a look here. I was in fact able to get something which I would consider as usable when attached to my phone here, which is Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV directly from the 3.5mm single-ended, and I was able to get the kind of headroom which I would consider as usable at around 60 to 65 out of 100. The output itself does appear to be kind of a bit lean, kind of a bit dry. Once I start scaling it with power, with something like Venture Electronic Devastator 4.4mm balance, it started to bloom, especially with the body of the sound itself. It no longer sounds dry, it no longer sounds lean. That is an indication that this Yacht 10 definitely the kind of IEM which would require power. Once I scale it further with something which is a lot more powerful, something like Ibaso DX340, 1250 milliwatt of power from the 4.4mm balance in high gain, then I am hearing the kind of sound which I would consider as 100%. So just remember this, if you are getting this Yacht 10, it is absolutely essential that you drive it like a full-size headphone in order to get the best output from it. In addition to what I have mentioned earlier regarding this HIBY Yacht 10 needing power to sound the best, there's also this element of synergy. For example, I have attached this HIBY Yacht 10 to something like this Ibaso DC Elite, or even this Ibaso DX340, which I use most of the time, or for any kind of DAC, amp or dongles, which I would consider as being neutral and transparent, then the kind of output that you're getting is something which is, I consider as being reference standard. Reference means that it offers the kind of neutrality, transparency, accuracy, and largely flat sounding throughout the entire frequency range, with just a hint of boosting in the lower frequency. This Yacht 10 seems to be highly sensitive and adaptable as well, very versatile, especially when I connect it something which is warmer sounding, something like Ibaso Nunchaku, or even something which contains R2R like this, Heartfield R1, then what I'm getting is something which is a bit more musical, something which is even considered as being warm sounding. If I use this DC Elite here, then I'm gonna get something which is considered as near reference standard. And why do I say near reference standard? Because largely throughout the entire frequency range, there's no hint of coloration at all in the upper frequency, in the mid range, and just a bit of, let's say, boosting in the lower frequency, just so as to make it a bit more exciting. And when I connect it to something which is warmer sounding, then throughout the entire frequency range, which is very linear, it would sound a bit more dense with the body itself now. With the body of sound, the timbre itself, it does appear to be a bit more organic, a bit more natural, not as flat sounding as when I connect it to some solid state reference grade type of dongle or DAC amp. In order to get the very best out of this Yacht 10, you must be mindful of what kind of source that you have. Because if you pair with something which is relatively bright sounding natively, then the kind of output that you're going to get is something which is clinical, bright, and pretty much sharp sounding. But if you pair with something which is considered as being warmer sounding, more natural, more organic, something like Onyx Alpha, something like HIBY FC6, or even Tube Amp, then you're going to get something which is a lot more musical. On top of that, there's also this third element, very important as well. I have already mentioned that, number one, you scale it up with power to get the very best out of this Yacht 10. And then, secondly, synergy factor. The third factor, the ear tip that you choose to use with this Yacht 10. Assuming that you are getting it, then I would highly recommend that you should also consider getting this HIBY WG01 silicone ear tip. I have tried all three of them. Initially, I love the foam ear tip because it offers me the kind of seal, the kind of comfort which is suitable for my ears, and the kind of sound which I would consider as more musical rather than analytical. The silicone tip being a lot more analytical, and to me, it does appear kind of a bit dry. And this is where this WG01 comes into play. It offers the best of both worlds. Ear tip plays huge role also in the kind of output that you are getting from this Yacht 10. Assuming that you have taken care of all three elements which I mentioned earlier, in general, I would classify this Yacht 10 as being a highly technical IEM rather than musical. The kind of IEM when you want accuracy, transparency, details, resolution, and imaging, which is pretty much as capable as hybrid technical IEM. It is pretty much similar to something like Dunu Falcon Ultra or even Kotori Audio Zapier. All of those IEM I consider as being suitable for monitoring purposes whenever I need accuracy. Anywhere from the mid-range all the way to the treble region. If you are sensitive to bright sounding IEM, then you might also find that this Yacht 10 more on the brighter side rather than on the warmer side. It is definitely not warm sounding. Starting with the mid-range itself, upper mid-range, I am hitting the kind of emphasis on the pinna region, which might appear sharp to some people who are sensitive to upper mid-range. It offers the kind of energy, pace, rhythm, and timing which is fast, which is normally associated to balanced amateur kind of performance. It is very detailed with macro and micro detail. There's a good amount of treble decay to it, which indicate that it also extends really well in the upper frequency. When it comes to the mid-range itself, it is largely considered as being transparent and neutral, uncolored. But when you attach it to something which is like a tube amp or even R2R dongle, then you're going to get a bit of hint of warmth there, a bit of density to the sound itself, which affect both female and male vocal and also instrument. The attack is fast, the attack is tidy, it is very neat with the mid-range. And when it comes to the lower frequency, it does appear to boost quite prominently on the mid-bass region, but not so much on the sub-bass. So if you are a Harman kind of person who prefers sub-bass, then you might find that this Yacht 10 kind of a bit roll off with the sub-bass region because the way it decays into the lowest frequency of the sub-bass region, it is kind of a bit subdued. But if you love mid-bass like me, then you're gonna love the performance of this Yacht 10. Very tactile definition of the mid-bass itself. It is tidy, it is in fact very solid sounding. Despite being a single dynamic driver, this Yacht 10 seems to perform like a hybrid. It does appear to be circular rather than wide and open sounding. The pinpoint accuracy is good, so which means that the spatial imaging is also very impressive, very suitable for gaming, for watching movie and binaural type of music. Thank you so very much for watching the video until the end. Without skipping, I hope. Now click like and subscribe, and also follow me on Instagram under the name of Andy AV. And also, if you like to support me directly, because all of my videos and reviews are unpaid, I am not earning anything, you can join the membership below for behind the scene, especially for AAV Insider and above, which will allow you to see what I am doing behind the scene, and I will share some of the items which I would normally not share in the public.